The year is 2005. The place, Ottawa, Ontario. History has just been made in the House of Commons with the first government to fall to a motion of no confidence.
171, nays contre 133, 133.
But how did we get here? And how does this relate to modern day politics? Let's rewind. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and I'm just gonna jump right into this so I can get it out of the way with. If you want to skip my explanation for why I'm not doing the Calgary election video, you can skip it and right to the timestamp here. That's when the video starts. But I just wanted to give a quick explanation for the people who care. So I done near burnt myself out making the video, and it was just going to be 2 hours long, and I just could not keep up with all the information coming out day by day. So in short, here's my prediction for the election. Unfortunately, I think Jeremy Farkas will win this election. Not what we want here at all, but we can change that by voting for the actual conservative candidate, the one and only Sonia Sharp, on October 20th. Make sure to cast your ballot for Sonia Sharp this election. She will bring our city back to basics and give us a more balanced and sustainable living. And I don't mean sustainable like green, climate geeky. I mean sustainable, like we're not wasting money on random crap we don't need. Anyway, into the video. Also, make sure to follow all my socials on this side of the screen right there, and check out our Rumble channel. I'm planning to have our first exclusive come out, our first Rumble exclusive come out here soon. That'll be very interesting, so stay tuned to that and make sure to follow us on Rumble to see that. All links will be in the description in the pinned comment, or you can just search Roughneck Radio on Rumble and you can find us that way. Anyways, it's October 25th, 1993, and Jean Chretien has just won a historic election victory, leading the Liberal Party of Canada into its first majority government since Pierre Trudeau's 1980 election victory.
We don't know until we find out more seats coming out of the West. But one thing we can tell you now, we've been agonizing over this for the past few minutes, crunching the numbers. We are going to declare at this point that the Liberals will form a majority government in Canada. Jean Chretien will be the 20th Prime Minister, leading a majority Liberal government in the country. It's unclear at this point whether he'll be in or outside of the House of Commons, but what we can tell you, based on the projections we see now, the Liberals will form a majority government.
The Progressive Conservatives, led by Kim Campbell, were reduced to not but 2 seats nationwide, with the Reform Party becoming the dominant right-wing party of the country. And a new party called the Bloc Québécois, under the leadership of a former Conservative MP, Lucien Bouchard, managed to form opposition. Chretien then went on to win 2 more consecutive majority governments, becoming one of the only prime ministers in Canadian history to do so. Then in 2003, when Chretien resigned, he was replaced by his former finance minister, Paul Martin, being sworn in as the interim prime minister by then Governor General Adrian Clarkson. Now, as you guys know, I'm no liberal, but from what I've heard and researched, even from fellow conservatives, Martin was a damn good finance minister, but prime minister, not so much. The year is now 2004, an election year. And at the dissolution of Parliament, Martin was riding high in the polls at 40%, and the newly founded Conservative Party of Canada was, under the lead of Stephen Harper, was sitting at second place with 25% of public opinion. Now, the reason why I say newly formed Conservative Party is because the Progressive Conservatives were destroyed so bad in 1993 that in, I think it was 2003, they actually had to merge with what was then the Canadian Alliance Party, the former Reform Party, to become the Conservative Party of Canada, just because of how bad they were, how bad their reputation was stained from 1993. Just quickly, for those who don't know, a minority government is when one party wins government but does not have the majority of the seats in the legislature, which is half the seats, and right now I'm pretty sure it's 172 seats. Just wanted to make that clear, so when I say minority or majority, you know what I mean. Long story short, Martin ended up winning the election with 36% of the vote, but lost the Liberal majority streak and ended up winning a minority government, which would eventually spell the end to his career. Just 17 months into his first elected government in late 2005, he faced a confidence motion put forward by, in my opinion, the best prime minister at the time, future prime minister Stephen Harper. The Bloc, NDP, and the Conservatives all voted to bring down the government, with the vote totaling 171 votes for yes and 133 no. The 133 seats being the Liberal Party, the 171 being the opposition parties combined. And just like that, the Martin administration fell and an election cycle was to begin. At the dissolution of Parliament on November 29th, 2005, Martin was leading 5% above the Harper Conservatives in public opinion polling. He actually surprisingly led all the way up until December 30th, 2005, when the first poll showed the lead switching to a Conservative lead. And after that, one by one, polls were switching and reporting leads for the Conservatives, and at their peak, they were up to 42% of public opinion. And the Liberals, they were all the way down back at 24% of public approval. Finally, on the 23rd of January 2006, election day, the Conservatives won with 36% of the vote and 124 seats. It may have been another minority government, but it was a conservative minority government. Harper led the country through a global recession and even gained a majority in 2011 after a snap election call.
A lot of people sitting with him in the Quebec caucus of the NDP. All right, we have seen enough now. We've gone and analyzed all the different leads. We can tell you that we are back to majority government status in Canada. It's been 7 years since there was a majority government in Canada. That was the tail end of the Chretien Martin years. In 2004, Canada went into minority situation, first with Paul Martin and then with the two conservative minority governments of Stephen Harper. Tonight, Stephen Harper becomes a majority government leader, the Prime Minister of a majority party, the Conservatives, and we'll see, which I can tell you for one thing, means that the next election absolutely won't be until at the earliest, October 19th, 2015.
Unfortunately, his government came to an end in 2015 when after the worst prime minister in history, Justin Trudeau, was elected. Now, despite what Carney may say, he did not lead us through the 2008 financial crisis. It was Stephen Harper and the late great finance minister Jim Flarhety. And it's appalling because during the election campaign, Carney took credit for a load of things that Flarhety did, and Flarhety wasn't even alive to defend himself. And in my opinion, Jim Flarhety was probably the best finance minister he ever had. He put forward tax cuts and even introduced the tax-free savings account, just to name a few of his accomplishments. Anyway, how does this relate to what we're facing in 2025?
Merci.
After Justin Trudeau's victory in 2015, the nation changed for years after. Horrible budgeting, lie after lie, scandal after scandal, crisis after crisis, foreign interference, and the constant limitation of people's rights and freedoms. Then on January 6, 2025, people's hope was restored once again.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister.
People were ecstatic. Songs were written, people partied, people celebrated on social media. People across the nation were celebrating like we had won a war. But what happened next was devastating. Enter former banker and economic advisor to the Trudeau administration, Mark Crap Nasty Carney. This guy is the greasiest of greasy liars, the most corrupt of corrupt politicians, and we're not even a full year into his term, and he has failed at absolutely every promise he has made. No new projects, no new trade agreements, and no progress made with the US like he said he would make. Not that we were expecting it, but just goes to show you. Now here's what differs Carney from Martin. Carney wasn't pre-elected like Martin was and didn't have a seat in the House. In fact, he was actually fresh out of New York after moving his company Brookfield down there after what he called the biggest crisis of our lifetime. Strange how you benefit what you'd see as a hostile power when you're by moving your business across their border. Anyway, the Liberal Party had a leadership race, and of course Carney came out of it victorious with some oddities, to say the least. But that's for another video. But he won and was sworn in as interim prime minister. And this has so many similarities to the Chretien Martin swap. A liberal government, after being in power for 10 years, having the leader resign and replaced by a finance guy, failed to meet expectations, just barely won an election, and was only in power for 17 months into his elected term. Wait a minute. That one wasn't a similarity. Yet. You see, Carney is already in very hot water. Like I said before, he has failed on every promise he made, and I mean every promise, and has more conflicts of interest than any other prime minister in Canadian history has ever had, and has the PPO sounding the alarm on the economy, saying if we don't fix this now, we're done. Like Canada's economy crashes, then the country falls.
The response, it should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not, like, it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable, right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious. And I think, as anyone who's managed a household budget knows, if you sit down at the end of the month and you don't have enough money to pay your bills, and it happens month after month after month, you know that something's going to break.
And Carney doesn't even have a budget yet. He said we'd have one by October, then they pushed it back to November. And the PBO says projected we will be running a $68 billion deficit by the end of this year. And there's a lot of skepticism about who's going to vote on Carney's budget. The Conservatives have already criticized it, so they won't vote for it. The NDP pretty much in the same, and have even been hinting at taking down the government already. And the Bloc has already said they won't prop up the Liberals, so unless the Liberals bribe the Bloc with something they like, this budget is going to get voted down. Many of us think this is what it will push Parliament over the edge and trigger a winter or even spring election. Just like what happened in 2005. Wait a second. November of this year will be 20 years since the Martin administration fell, and that's when we're supposed to be voting on the budget. All this could not be more perfect. Oh my god. Could you imagine if this government fell the exact same time that the Martin administration fell in 20 years ago? Oh, that'd be insane. That'd be and people were talking about similarities to the 1984 election, and I knew I was onto something with this with the 2006 election. Anyway, Now for the polling data. The latest poll that has come out, which was by Angus Reid, has the Conservatives leading at 41% of public approval and the Liberals down at 38% and the NDP at 10%. With that, the Conservatives would win a majority with around 185 seats, give or take, and the Liberal opposition would be around 105 seats. But overall, the Liberals are still leading in public opinion, but not by much. But keep in mind, Martin was leading in public opinion polling even after Parliament fell, all the way up until near the end of the election campaign. And what happened after that election campaign? A Conservative government. Things could not be more perfect in these similarities, I'll tell you. Now, Carney may have a bigger minority than Martin had, but it's still a minority, and day by day, it's looking like it can teeter and topple at any moment. But Pierre Poilievre also has a bigger opposition than Harper did in 2005. So could Canada have another 2006? Well, the writing's on the wall. A tired Liberal government, a weak leader, a looming crisis, and an energized Conservative opposition. History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme, don't it? And this rhyme sounds an awful lot like 2006. But what do you think? Could we be heading towards a 2006 style collapse of the Liberal government? Or could Carney hang on a little longer than Martin? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll be watching this situation very close, and I will be providing updates as often as I possibly could. Anyways, I'll be posting more updates on stuff like this as they come out, but at the moment, make sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever I post an update. We're planning on making a lot of videos. I might be a little slow on making them still, but we're just getting started, so we need a little slack on that one. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.